Hey guys, welcome back to Full Tilt Drift, and today starts the first day of Fabrication Month. This is Fabrication 101, and today we're going to be making a skid plate for the S14 out of this piece of metal right here, and get it nice and fitted up in there so we have better airflow through the engine bay and protection for the oil pan. Today we're going to look at picking up metal, cutting it, forming it to a certain degree on a budget without many tools. The first step whenever you're doing a big piece like this is you want to use a template. We've got this big piece of cardboard that's just about the same size as this, so we can go in there and fit this up, make our measurements with this, then do the final cut on that. Good morning guys. It's Saturday morning of the preparation weekend for the event next weekend, and right now we're off to the metal supply shop. We're hoping to get metal for a skid plate, tubes for a bash bar, and probably some stuff to fix up the table so I can make a video about that for you guys too. So where we're going right now is IMS. It's a giant metal supply warehouse type deal. They've got brand new pieces for you to pick off of, but we're going early because they have a scrap section which is a lot cheaper, and it usually has pretty good selection. We also just hooked up the turbo yesterday, and we haven't really gotten to drive it around yet, so this will not only be the maiden voyage for the GoPro, but also the turbo on the rebuilt engine. Hey guys, like I said, we're at IMS Metal right now. This right here is the scrap area, so all the extra metal off the cuts that other people order, they put here for like almost half price. It's super discounted. That's why I was trying to come here early in the morning before a lot of people get here so that I can get my metal. So I'm going to give you a little look around real quick. We've got steel tubes, smaller tube remnants, aluminum plate, cold rolled plate, hot rolled plate, diamond plate. We got everything here. So as long as you can get here when the scrap metal is still good, you're all set. Now we're going to get the car jacked up, get the cardboard fitted in there. I'll show you how we mark and measure it and everything. And then we're going to do our final cuts on this piece of plate. Alright, let me show you guys what we got going on. That blue part right there is my oil pan, and as you can see, it's just a little lower than my sway bar, making it the lowest part of my front end. That's not going to be okay if I hit anything, so we need to put some protection there. You can see the bolts we've lined up on the bottom of the intercooler here, and on the subframe right here. So it should reach all the way from the intercooler here, covering the sway bar, the oil pan, and then connect right there at the subframe where you see those two bolts. So let's get this mocked up on the cardboard, and then I'll show you how we transfer it to the metal. Alright guys, we got our cardboard all fitted up how we want it. Let me show you how we did that and how it looks now before we transfer it onto the metal. Okay, so here in effect is our skid plate. Right now it's the cardboard cut up. So the way we got this all fitted up is we put just a little bit of Loctite on the head of the bolts, and then we fitted up the cardboard piece, took it down, and we had an exact plot of where the bolt holes needed to be. So now we're going to take the cardboard skid plate off and work on the metal one. Alright, so this is a better shot of that cardboard that we're going to be using, and you can see the 4 bolt holes also and where they line up. We're going to measure the distance between all of these and then mock it up onto our metal skid plate before we drill holes or anything. Alright, we've got our holes all marked up. We measured them horizontally, vertically, and diagonally. We're going to drill the holes, then go see how it fits up. Alright guys, just wanted to show you real quick. When you're picking drill bits for some bolts, the easiest way I found to do it when you don't have something to measure the bolts is to hold the bolt up to your eye and take the drill bit and hold it behind it. When you finally get one that is just slightly bigger than the bolt threads, that's when you know you're set. Alright, we held the skid plate up against the bottom of the car, and it looks like it's pretty good fitment. We're going to throw some slots on the holes so it's easier to install, and then get it on there. Alright Alright guys, what we're trying to do now is make a cut along this line so that we're able to bend the plate. We want to put one bend up in it so that it'll rise up to where the intercooler is instead of using like some really long bolts or something. So we're going to make not a deep cut, not even halfway through the plate, maybe a third of the way across with an angle grinder, and then try and give it a bend. The real key here is trying to make an even bend all the way across. Alright guys, we got a pretty good even cut all the way across. So now we're going to shove the big part in between a stack of tires and wheels to get some weight on top of it. And then we're going to use something long like a 2x4 or two 2x4s to clamp that and try to bend it up. Leverage, my friends. Alright guys, we have the skid plate mostly mounted up. We just need to take care of one more thing. As you can see here, the skid plate hangs over where the lower control arm is going to go when the suspension sags. So we're going to take a section of that off, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Here are the boxes we're going to be cutting out. That's going to allow an arm to be moving this way and not get caught up on the skid plate. And this line right here is where we're putting our second crease. We're going to cut these out first, and then run a solid cut along this line, and do the same thing we did before with the 2x4s and try and get it bent. This is what we're going to be doing it with. It's just a cheesy Harbor Freight angle grinder, but I've had it for 2 years and it keeps getting the job done. So the angle grinder is great for making small, low-risk cuts where you don't care about, you know, a perfectly straight edge. We can come back with the flap wheel or a file or something and grind it down a little bit later. Right now we're just trying to get these pieces off, make sure it fits, and we'll take care of that afterwards. When you're using an angle grinder, you always want to make sure you're wearing gloves and eye protection because, as you just saw, that thing throws sparks everywhere. I suggest also using ear protection if you're not used to it, but the gloves and the eye protection are definitely a must. Alright, now we're going to put the horizontal cut. This piece, we're out here in the front yard because there wasn't a good place to do this in the garage or anything. We've got the first bend hanging off the grass here. I'm going to put my body weight onto the flat part, grab this for leverage, and yank up to bend this piece forward. That way we're going to have kind of a Z-shaped skid plate here. That ought to be good. Voila. Z-shaped skid plate. Alright guys, and that is a fully installed skid plate. It is solid as a rock too. I can kick the hell out of it and not even dent the thing. Alright guys, the skid plate's pretty much done. I took it out for a spin last night, and as you can see, it already stopped me from scraping something. We're just going to make one more cut and bend up along this top line so that the front of the skid plate angles up, just in case it falls or grabs something we don't want it to dig in and get ripped off the car. And then we should be ready to throw this thing back in. Okay, so I actually had the line drawn on the wrong side. You want to make your cut so that after you bend the metal, your cut is here, and the metal folds upwards to close up the cut. You don't want the cut on the bottom and then bending upwards because then you've got a big gap in the metal there. Now just real quick, I'm going to use the angle grinder with the sandpaper disc, also called a flat disc, to take some of the sharper edges off of here. I'm not going too in-depth showing you the grinder right now because you're going to see a lot more of it in the upcoming Fabrication Months. Alright, you guys will see a lot more of the grinder when we do the bash bar build because we're going to be using this to cut a lot of the tubing. The new skid plate is officially done. We just need to paint it some other time, maybe put a couple of reinforcements on there if it feels a little weak after we use it. The track I'm going to this weekend for the Ambit event is Grange Motorsports Park. It's a go-kart track out in the desert, and there's big drop-offs, rocks, all kinds of stuff you don't want hitting the underside of your car, so this skid plate should be an excellent addition. that concludes the first episode for Fabrication Month. The skid plate wasn't a big deal. We're going to get bigger and bigger as we go on. We're doing a bash bar, some more air panels and things like that. Stay tuned.